Okay, I welcome back to what is it, like part 14 now? Whoa. We're on YouTube. Let me get the stream title going there. Okay, hello. All right, let's get started. So yesterday stream we finished building the serving size selectors and whatnot for the food journal. I'd say now we should just start some basic stuff like when you log in for the first time and you haven't set any goals and stuff, it'll ask you at least what's your weight, what's your target weight, and just some general macro questions, and then your height, things like that. I think that'll be good because it sort of preps us for creating the charts that I want to do. It's because, of course, you'll need a baseline to be able to overlay your goals on top of what you've actually done, and so just having all that information just to start with might sort of help out. So, okay. We'll pretty much need a new screen, and we'll call it intake screen. Actually, these don't need the word screen at the end of them. They're already in the screens folder. There you go. So, do a stateful. Hello? Macros? You good? This happens. Okay, there we go. This happens all the time on my larger projects, but I always just assume it's because they're very large and take a while for the Dart Analyzer to actually spool up. But that was weird that this took so long. So anyway, it's the intake screen. I figure on the loading screen, where we get to this whole part where we load over here, we're gonna need to start with a user controller that holds our user info. So let's start with that. And once again, we don't need the word controller. So class user controller. Everything in here is going to be static. We'll do user, which we'll do user info because for the name. As user is a keyword in Postgres, so we can't actually make the table called user, so it has to be user info. Okay. So I guess we'll also need user, then user info. User info extends updatable drift weaver. So I'll need a bunch of stuff. I guess we'll start with the name. Well, a first name. A last name. Yeah. Let's just do name. People shouldn't have to input like their actual like legal name into this thing. User info, name, email. And honestly, that's probably fine for now. Call it there, and then we'll do user goals. Or user goals. Class, user goals. Extend is updatable. And here's where we'll actually put all of our goal information. Oh, height isn't technically a goal. Maybe we'll just put it in here anyway. So we'll do height. Short in centimeters. Weight in kilograms. Double target weight in kilograms. Daily calorie. Yeah. We don't really need the word goal. Well, maybe we should actually make daily calorie, daily protein, daily carb, an expandable map here. Just because they may also choose to track things like sodium, or if they're really weird, like vitamin C. And it's very important to me. I get, 100% of my vitamin C because I'm crazy. We'll want to cater to stuff like that. So we'll do map string double vitamin C is a scam. Yes, it is. As long as you don't have scurvy, you're fine. We'll actually leave the word goal here because no, we won't. So actually, weight is going to be a series, right? So we'll want to track their weight over time. So we could do this in two ways. We could make a user weight table and then track each entry, or we could just start adding, and leave it as a map here. But I don't think that's probably what we want. We actually, maybe in the future, it might be a good idea to actually put the nutrition stuff has tables, meaning so you would have calorie, base unit, other units, and that way you're really just referencing it. Maybe that would be smarter. Probably. It's gonna kind of fuck us up on all the things that we made though, but well, I guess it's better to do it now than later. This kind of throws off my plan. All right. I guess I still want this part to be a map. Yeah, there's only so many joins I can take, so we'll at least make a nutrient table. Nutrient extends. This is just regular Driftweaver. Base unit. And then a list of other units. Well, all units and then default unit. I guess we'll go that way. And I think in our nutrition controller, there's something vaguely like that we already have over here, where we were picking the first one in the list. Well, you could still do that, where instead it's just all units, excuse me, and then we still pick the first one. Just in case we need to change names or anything, because if all of a sudden I decide, like I would never do this, but if I did O-3 all of a sudden, and I changed it, which we wouldn't do, but that would break every single meal and food that references omega-3 fatty acids. So maybe just doing it as an idea is the smarter way. Yeah, thinking that's the case. We could still do picking the first one here. And not specify a default unit. But then the logic kind of becomes a bit magic. Oh, this can actually be const over here. Just while I'm looking at it. Yeah, I guess that's what we're gonna have to do. Could this not be const? I think we decided it couldn't be. Right, yeah, because this part gets generated there. Okay. Hmm. Okay. I guess that's what we'll have to do. I don't really see a nice way around it, so. Wait, load nutrients. Should have come first. Nutrient. Let's make a default demo nutrients thing here that we can call on. That way we don't have to put this in this giant file here. Then nutrient info. Maybe we can get ChatGPT to do this. Convert to nutrient objects. The first unit should be the default unit. Yeah, actually that works. I didn't think about that, but yeah, you could do it that way. Did this keep everything accurate though? Looks pretty good. It's a good idea. Oops. Const. Okay, and now I think we can just get rid of all of these. Everything's gonna explode, of course, all the way down here, but that's fine. Yeah, I think that does actually work. Now we just got to go through all these things and fix up the nutrition totals. All these are going to be ints now to reference the IDs. Okay. This should be 1. This should be protein, carbs, fat. Let's actually reorder it that way. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll fix up this. This is an int. Let's also, in the let's make an enum here for macros. And you can number macros. I don't remember how you do that in Dart. How do you do that? You can index the macro. The enum, sorry. Dart enum. Enumerated types. Swear you can do it that way. I guess just index. This is a simple. What? This can probably be over here in nutrition info. So macros, calories, index, +1. Because theoretically, I assume it starts from 0. Yeah, from 0. This is an int. This is an int. So nutrition controller, nutrient ID map, key, nutrient, and then nutrient name. Trying to think of how I want to actually like these IDs now are not. I've kind of backed myself into a corner now where it has to order this way. Like I could make these change these two IDs too, but that just feels so stupid. Guess I don't really have a choice. You know, just doing this +1 was felt really stupid too. Yeah, I'm not sure how I want to really do this here. Maybe when we load the nutrients, we'll also do like a macro map. So something like this. So macros. Macro ID map. could do this. Nutrient is macro. And then if macro let's make this a switch. There we go. Okay, so where were we working before? In here, right? Yeah. So let's get calorie ID, which goes nutrition controller. Macro ID calories. Then we do that. Same thing for protein, same thing for carbs, same thing for fat. Okay. Yeah, now we can do macro. Calories, macro, calories. Do this icon and then if macro is a null, then we'll look all this up. Yeah, I think that'll cover it. And it's going to complain because it doesn't think that is real, but it is. Let me look up real quick how this is supposed to look these days. Where do I have the environment SDK? And in analysis options, we do this, right? Okay, and then Flutter pub get. Current Dart SDK version. Oh, Flutter upgrade. Do that in the background. If you're Flutter, check out if you want to keep these changes. Aren't we? Wait. Oh, okay. No. This is fine. Okay, and then Flutter pub get. There we go. Okay. Now that syntax should be fine. Let me reload the window because it should be fine. So we won't be working in the emulator for a little bit, so let me just hide it for you guys. There we go. Now it's fine with that syntax. Great. Okay. It's one thing down. So this was we are going to want to generate by taking the nutrition controller, nutrients, values, where not yeah, something like that. What's going on? Type nutrient. Map nutrient to nutrient name. Okay. Okay, that's all fixed. So now we will want to pass in the nutrient itself, I think. So nutrient.name, nutrient that is macro. And then nutrient units. This will never be null. Well, nah, we'll say it's never null. Where were we? Over here. Food nutrient display units. I don't even know where that is. Oh, gotcha. Nutrient ID. And then this was nutrient ID. This was nutrient is macro, and we're going to want to pull this out. Just grab it as a macro. That way we don't calculate it 1,000 times. Macro. Macro. This is now the ID. And this is now default unit. And the default unit, we'll say, can be nullable, just in case. And where the hell were we? Here we were. And then nutrient ID. Nutrient ID. Maybe we'll even just rip out nutrient ID. And nutrient ID. Do it myself. ID. ID. Okay. You know what? Let's even just mark bool is default. And then that way, this doesn't have to exist. Let's do this. Is default, yeah. Do we want to call it is default or just default? Is default probably makes more sense. Lets you know that it's a Boolean. And this has really become macro info. Although we were going to add things like fiber, things like that. Let's do macro info. Even though technically it will hold more than macros. Macro info, default nutrient map. So this isn't real anymore. It is actually the nutrition controller, the nutrients where the nutrient nutrient is default, right? We were doing the default ones? Yes. Okay. Added nutrients. What's that? Oh, okay. Nutrient. Nutrition type. Select nutrient selection dialog. It's really a nutrient, no. And it is a nutrient. So this should return a nutrient. A nutrient. Maybe we'll even make this right here. How about nutrient list, nutrient default nutrients, demo nutrients, where nutrition controller, nutrient ID map values. Yeah, we'll do that. And so where did I call that from before? Nutrient default nutrient. Let's make this a getter. We'll do defaults. So that is shorter. Oh man, okay. Nutrient. Nutrient. I guess we're making a map. Nutrient ID. First where or null for nutrient. Okay. This doesn't exist anymore. Food creation. This doesn't exist anymore. Food journal. These are ints now. Almost there. Okay. I think we're good now. We can actually like try and run the app real quick. Let's just close everything. And I'll unhide the emulator. Okay. And let me plug my Twitch in the YouTube one. There we go. Your camera is configured with this NDK. Okay. Build Gradle. Build Gradle KTS in /app. Flutter NDK version. That should be in local prop. No, Gradle properties. Oh, this is why I had shit. That's why I had my Flutter instance updated. Okay. Where did my icons go? Let's just do this really quick. Yeah, I have the assets over here. Should be fine. Sorry, I know this is the boring part where I'm just fighting with Flutter itself. That's never fun. Hopefully this resolves quick. You can get a drink while this is building. Should just take 30 seconds. Okay. Come on. Yep, I know about the NDK stuff. It's alright. We'll deal with it later. If it will get you to shut up, I will add it here. Even though, personally, I think Flutter should handle that itself. Can't find symbol. Oh, okay. Let's just do a clean. Now with the new NDK version, theoretically, it should not complain anymore. Okay, everything's back to normal. Awesome. And it looks like everything is pretty much working how I remember it. Let's just create a food. Yep, this all shows up, all nice. I want to be able to search for a bunch of stuff. Let's do vitamin A. Yep, all of that comes in. I list sugars separately. There's sugar and sugars. Is that what it just told me? Sugars. Anyway, pretty good. For a major refactor like that, that actually went really well. That was a lot of things we just changed. I'm pretty happy with how relatively painless that was. We didn't spend a lot of debugging time. Good thing we did it early, I guess. So let's go back to here really quick. No, what is it? Oh, it's models, nutrition. Since since I have sugars in a couple places apparently. Yeah. There we go. I don't know why I duplicated that, but should be all good now. Okay. So what we were originally working on was the user controller. A user controller should be able to load everything. So we'll just do load async, and then we'll do load user. For right now, this is fine. We do this. Let me grab. There we go. Loaded user controller. And we will want in our loading screen to load the user controller first, probably. And then everything else is fine to happen at whatever period. Okay, and then we'll also want to load user goals. So same thing here. Nope, we're not doing that. We're just loading user goals. User goals. User goals. And static. Nullable user goals. Okay. We don't necessarily want to default to anything, but we yeah, we'll just leave that blank, leave this blank. So how I want this to work is when you get to the loading screen, it detects whether or not you have a user. If it doesn't have a user, then it's got to send you to the create user page. But if I just do it as, is it null or not, then every time we reference user info, it becomes a whole big thing where we're yelling at it that, hey, the user isn't null, which is a big pain. So what we might want to do is just a bool user exists. And then we'll do false. And then if loaded from database sets user exists to true. And we'll just remember to do that later. And I guess that will keep us from wanting to die later when we have things like, where is it? We have user ID. So now we can actually grab our user controller, user ID, and populate this everywhere, which is really nice. Same for meal slot. Meal. And yeah, I think that's okay. And we will actually want to grab this now that I think about it, because we don't want that to explode. And we'll set the ID will default to 0, which is fine for now. Oh, hey, Sejin, what's up, man? How's it going? I saw that you were just streaming a couple minutes ago. You ended early? Yeah, load user goals. That looks pretty good. Sorry about that. I got distracted. Yeah, I always find myself, I think, you know, it'll take me like a minute to set up the stream, and then every time I start playing with a bunch of values, and then it usually takes me about 10 minutes to actually end up pressing the start stream button, so I feel you. We were working on, to fill you in, we're starting the actual like user intake portion of the app, where you know you actually put in your name and you know your target goals. I don't know if that's of any interest to you today. Yeah, pretty much. The very first, you know, welcome to the app screens. So if user controller user exists, it's not true. Well, let's actually just do it this way. Path. Otherwise, path is going to be home. I wouldn't say the rest of it is done, but we have, just to walk you through, let me reload everything. We have a general thing going on here where you have your general slots. You can expand everything open, and you can take a look at your meals and your foods, and they all kind of add up together. You can go ahead and start adding things to those slots. So you have your meal history and your food history. You can do create food and create meal. We got the barcode scanner working a couple streams ago, something like that. And you could input all the information that you need, add nutrients, and then click add, and it all kind of fills back in. So that's the rest of it, quote unquote. This app is going to have way more features than that, but the basic, you know, thing to call itself a health app is a bit done. Thank you. So, yeah, that'll probably be the login screen first, and then else if we'll go user controller, if user goals equals null, then intake Oops, not that. There we go. Okay. So we should get an error immediately as that route doesn't exist. All according to plan. So we'll do login and a login screen. Login.dart. Let's start grouping the nutrition stuff. So food creation can go in there, meal history can go in there, scanner can go in there. Okay. Okay, now if we reload, we should go to a nice blank screen. Awesome. And we'll want to grab our typical like scaffolding stuff. Okay, is this going to yell at me that it requires a child? Yep. Okay, so let's just put another placeholder. Okay, perfect. So for right now, given that it actually doesn't matter what we write, we'll just do like health app, and then login. Something like that. We'll make this way bigger. Fine. And we'll probably want to have this centered, although there's no width right now, so we're gonna want to do width dot double infinity. There we go. And let's collapse this down. These can be consts. Well, yeah, actually we'll wrap this in another column. I'll show you why in a second. Because it lets us specify space around. Okay, this part is const, and we'll need like pretty much another one, but for auto text field, hint text user. Then, hello, remember doing Flutter? Someone asked me that a couple streams back, and I think I decided since 2019, something like that. So a good while. I'm pretty comfortable in it. There's pretty much nothing that really overly stumps me anymore, unless it's something very very niche, like dealing with crazy overlays and things like that. Other than that, not really. User password. We'll add some padding here. Let's actually add it on the whole thing. Why not? Yeah, that's fine. For now. Add some spacing. Okay, and then we'll have a button for login. Async elevate button. We'll do login. Sure, mark that as to do. For now, we'll just do the home. And below that, we should also have like sign up. Okay. Super ugly, but we won't be really building this seriously until like this will be like the last thing we do. So who really cares about the login screen with no server and no users? So sign up. Oop, didn't mean to go to home screen. That should go into, I guess when you get a sign up screen. Sign up. This can actually just be as is and it just goes. So I guess that doesn't even need to be async. We'll make it a text button actually. Child adaptive text. Sign up, make that const, and put that below here. Yeah, good enough for now. Okay, and we'll want to add this over here. This is no longer a placeholder. Sign up screen. Sign up. And we'll grab our scaffolding stuff like we like. We can now kill that, kill that, kill that. And let's actually put this in intake. So we have login, sign up, and actually intake. Okay. Nice. Yeah, sure. And then we'll do a similar thing where it asks you for a name and an email. And I guess a password. So I suppose this will actually look very similar. So we can just use this one already. This is now sign up. Handle sign up logic, and then when that finishes, we can go straight to intake, which is more about your goals. Also, this should have been email. So we'll do our email, our password, and a name. And sign up. Okay, we'll double check everything. Login, sign up, and the intake doesn't exist. That's true. Intake screen. Okay. Give it another shot. Sign up, intake. Awesome. Grab this stuff again. Oh, we never finished actually setting up the user goals thing where we had target weight. And then we should have weight history, which is that a nutrition thing? Weight history? Should it just be outside of it? Not sure. For right now, we can just leave it in here. Class weight history extends updatable. Well, this could technically be deletable. Yep, we'll want a date. We'll want a weight, and we'll also want the user ID, which can go up top. All of these can be linked. Wait, history dot create. And we'll have to add just a blank constructor up top. What's this lead to? So Dart, the language under Flutter, has sound null safety. So pretty much anytime you use it, it will kind of flag you if you're not handling if the variable cannot be null or anything, if the variable can be null. So adding this lets it be null, but late tells it, hey, I told you that this can't be null, but you have to trust me that when I actually end up using it, I'll have set it. So as long as whatever I end up using here fills in these variables before I try and read it, I won't get an error. But if I tried to do something like void, test, and then I tried to, grab the user ID and print it, I would get a late initialization error. And it would yell at me that, hey, you never actually created the user ID. The only time you really want to do this instead of, just leaving it as nullable is if I did this and I wanted to do operations on the user ID, I'll always have to check, is it null? And for something like this, I know that as soon as the object gets loaded, it's going to have that value. But how that value gets loaded in isn't always obvious to the compiler that happens every time beforehand. So the late just kind of lets you be able to say, hey, just trust me. It's kind of an unsafe thing to do, but it's, I know you don't know Rust, but it's not unsimilar to an unsafe keyword, So for example, in the user controller, the user object itself that contains like the name and the user ID that I'm assigning to late, as, you know, once you get past that sign in screen, you're always going to have that object loaded. I don't want to check every single time, you know, it doesn't exist, or, you know, mark, hey, trust me, it exists. So it's just easier to pretend that it was never nullable in the first place. So you just kind of got to be careful. Maybe not too familiar with Zig, but I'll trust you on it. You're the one who wrote a damn compiler using it, so you would know. um, what was I up to? Yeah, the intake form. Right, and we can get rid of. Are we on the intake form? Is that where? I don't even know what screen I'm actually looking at on the emulator. Sign up. Sign up. Okay. So let's get rid of basically all of this. Um, and we'll start making some text fields for some of our user goals here. So while technically not a user goal, we should ask them to define their height. We'll let them input it in any way. Ideally, I'd like to be able to just say, hey, it has to be centimeters, but us Americans don't know our height in centimeters. I don't know mine. I just know my height in feet and inches. So we'll have to make a real selection for that. But all of the calculations that we're going to have to do later, I'm sure, are going to want it in centimeters, given that, you know, all of our formulas will be based on scientific research. And so we'll leave it for now. We'll do current weight. And we'll say target weight. Oh, that looks ugly. There we go. Still looks ugly, but it's fine. Okay. And we'll have a section for macro goals, but let's first just make a pretty little thing here. How about we do, we'll name it something else, but for right now we're going to call it personal info, and then we'll add a divider. And then hopefully that will kind of, no, didn't do it. What if I wrap the divider in expanded? We can, yeah, okay, there we go. That was it. Expanded. This whole row can be const. We'll add some spacing. Oh, can't do that because I made it const. Sizing, get height. You know, these are pretty long. I may change this at some point to get height factor. That way it's at least shorter on the line. Takes up too much space. Okay. That looks good. And just add another one down here. Nutrition goals. And I suppose we'll do things like this: protein, carbs, fats. We refer to everything as just straight carbs. Yeah. Should be fine. Let's make this bigger. 1.2? Sure. 1.2. Okay. And we'll pretty much want to add another button to add more nutrients. Add other nutrients on tap. That way we can still accommodate people who need to track like sodium and stuff and not bother other people if they don't care. But mostly everyone cares about calories, protein, carbs, and fat, so we'll just let them leave it blank if, you know, any of this can really be left blank, I suppose. Any other goals that we care about before we start making the screen look a little bit better? We're not ready to start taking in like exercise information yet. That would be the only thing I might consider putting in here, like how many times a week do you want to work out, things like that. But that can be handled on a different dedicated screen for exercise information. You know, we'll end up allowing you to create an entire like written down mesocycle. So you'll say, oh, I'm going to do this many sets of, you know, presses this day at this weight, and let's increase it this way, and it'll handle it all for you. But that's way later. So we're probably good to just say we made the screen and move on here. But we'll want some demo stuff. I don't know what height this looks like. Oh, this also has to be here. Oh man, I'm totally blanking on how we did that before. I think we just kind of said that's what it was going to be. Yeah. All right. Since these relate to IDs. Okay. User goals. We'll also want to go back to the user controller. And if we're in demo mode, like we are here, user goals equals null, and we're in demo mode. We want the demo. we'll do same for here. Um, let's make this instanced to the function. User info, user info. Else. Let's say user exists. True. And this user info equals this user info. What's the problem? Oh, because it's static. Right, and we were gonna have it be blank, I think. Good enough. Back to user info so we can make the demo stuff. Oh, see you, Seijin. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it, man. Try and catch you on another one of your streams, too. Have a good one, man. The Algomoth. That is our name. Algomoth. Moth at algomoth.com, which is a real email. You can email me there. And we have to add back in the blank constructor. That's important. User info. I know it will be, but you have to trust me that that's fine. Okay. So far, a lot of good progress today. Granted, we were doing some pretty easy stuff, just making some really simple screens here. Okay. And if we're in demo, we should also just say that, hey, user exists. Oh, wait, actually, if user info doesn't equal null, then we'll do this. Else, then we do that. Great. Okay, yeah, that was the logic I was missing. Not necessarily. And now it should just throw us straight into here. And oh, another thing we were gonna do is we need to set up the meal slots. That should also go in the intake form. But let's see how we do here. Nutrition, home screen. I guess we would put like a gear um, icon, which can just quickly take you back to the intake screen. Like a gear like right up here under that like debug flag. Can you see my mouse? Oh yeah, you can. Can you? Yeah, you can. Um, so I guess to keep this centered, we actually need to wrap this in a stack. And then we can just put an aligned, it even knows I want to do, how did it know? So smart. No, intake is fine, intake. Center, right, yeah. Man. Nice. Tooltip. Settings. I guess technically it won't. Well, you'll need to have other settings than just intake. So maybe in settings we have a we just kind of duplicate what the intake part looks like. Because we'll probably have different settings tabs. So, maybe like a general settings where it's, do you want it in metric? Do you want it in imperial? Um, and then one for goals. Yeah, that might work. Okay. Um, where should we put that? I guess just settings. Stateful settings screen. And we'll want to grab this shit again. And we'll just have the word like settings up top. Yeah, we can remove the padding this time. I think the image of the screen in my head looks a bit different than quite that. It's gonna bother me if that keeps highlighting as yellow. Okay, intake, home, history, food, scanner. Settings screen. Okay, and this goes to settings. This actually doesn't need to be async. We could just leave it as compact. What happened here? It's because the fit. You do intrinsic height here to get it to collapse. Yeah, perfect. Okay. I don't usually like to use intrinsic height too much because it's relatively expensive and avoid using it where possible. But I think this is like the best time to really use it are situations like this where you kind of need to collapse something and there's no real way to say like it should be this height. Just do what the children would have done. Okay, and if we press this, we should get like a blank settings page. Awesome. Okay, so I think next time we are pretty much all set to start the charts. So my goal is there's yeah, FL chart is a really great package which lets you do all kinds of fancy charts. They pretty much have anything you'd want. Um, so we will end up leveraging this. It would be cool to build our own chart, thing using painters. But I think we'd probably be wasting our time. I'd like to do it, but this is just so built out that it seems just stupid to do it when all of the math is already handled for me. And if you guys watch me try and do math where I plot make a scatter chart using math, you'd probably be a bit disappointed. So that's where we'll pick up next time. I suppose now we're pretty much good to end the day. We did quite a lot. Oh, where's my terminal here? Git add. We'll do intake. We'll login, sign up, intake, and nutrient IDs. We recoded quite a bit here. So I guess, oh, my music must have stopped like hours ago. Well, an hour ago. Let's raid someone. Who's a good person? None of our friends are online, so let's go to our favorite category. We'll find a new person here. Fresh code, fresh ideas, not specific enough. I don't know what the hell you're doing. This guy's doing Godot. Crypto trading could be cool. Is this Flutter? It looks kind of like, well, I mean, any C language, I guess, looks like Dart. And it's in Spanish, so let's do. I mean, everyone who was going to raid with us is kind of left already, so maybe I should just pick something and stop having it hawing. And I'm hungry. I want my Chinese food. Yes, I know you're still here, Envy. You always are. You're the best. And I still haven't fixed my chat screen. Anyway, just noticed that. Alright, let's pick the Godot guy.
Fucking hair. We'll bring that in right there. Okay, yeah, and then I'm still gonna go to GIMP, and I'm gonna go image, transform.
I don't know what he's up to, but
we're gonna export
that's
that,
where we're going.
as the same.
Farewell.
Flipped.